Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for is now here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Get him, Bobby.
You are now rocking with
DZ, the Incredible.
You got it locked in the Live and Direct with yours truly, DZ the Incredible. Thank you for tuning in. And as you know, here on Live and Direct, we feature the who's who in art, culture, music, entertainment, and more. And on today's show, I got my guest here with me, Mr. Donnaveo Sherman. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up?
Right, welcome to Live and Direct. Now, you are known here in Nassau as the nutrition specialist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, meaning that, you know, you have a vast knowledge of, you know, the proper healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, so my first question to you is, before we move on, like what led you into that field?
Well, it was a passion and a love for it for many years. I was always interested in nutrition and health, healing modalities, things that are alternative to what regular mainstream is, and it was something that always sparked my interest, and I just followed that particular route for close to maybe 25 years, you know, so I was always into it, and I was always searching and seeking for better health, how we can prolong ourselves to be disease-free, to be conscious about what it is that we are actually putting in our body. So that was my basic, or my foundational thrust to getting into this. And yeah, that's basically it there.
Yeah, so now we know that we have some diseases running rampant in the Bahamas. Yes. Diabetes being one of the number one.
Yeah.
Cancer, high blood pressure. We have people with heart disease.
Yeah.
From your knowledge of health and wellness, where's the Bahamian population going wrong as far as things that we eat and put into our bodies?
Yeah, definitely lifestyle, nutrition is where we're going wrong. The types of foods that we've brought up on, a lot of starchy based foods, a lot of meat based foods, typically no live or living raw foods or anything that has any semblance of life in it. We cook the foods out, we take all the nutrition out of the foods, and what we're left with is a very small fraction of food substances that rarely nourish the body, and that's the issue right there. We're trying to nourish the body, get the body back into a healthy state, and the types of foods that we eat constantly or that we eat on a daily and a weekly basis is not doing that. So if we're eating a diet that is full of starch, full of sugars, in a few years or in a couple of years, we'll have an outbreak of diabetes, outbreak of hypertension, cancer, because all of these things feed on sugar. They feed on these types of substances that we put into our system, into our body.
Now you manage a store called Essentially Alkaline,
yes,
where you offer consumers an alternative to the norm, or the regular diet of the fast food, and
yes,
the cooking all the ribs and pork chop and all the other stuff. Now that word alkaline, what does it mean to be alkaline, and what's the benefit of that?
The benefit of it, well, alkaline is just a term used to say that there's a scale between being acidic and alkaline. It's the pH, or the potential or the parts of hydrogen, and 0 to 14 is the scale, and then you have 7 being the midpoint or the neutral point, and anything under 7 is acidic, anything beyond 7 is alkaline. We need to have a balance, so our blood and lymphatic fluid is about 7.3 to 7.4, about that range, and different aspects of the body are acidic, meaning the tissues and the muscles are based on acid. So there's a balance, but because of the types of food that we eat, the diet that we eat is far more acid. It leaves more acidic residue in the system. So to pull ourselves out of the acidic range and put ourselves more into a homeostasis or a balance, we need to add more alkalizing or alkaline foods. The quickest alkalining foods are leafy greens, which is why they keep saying eat salads, more solids and whatnot. Fruits are acidic and subacidic, but the end result in eating a fruit is an alkaline, acidic, or an alkaline residue. So you're getting the minerals, the mineral content of the fruits and the veggies. That is what keeps you functioning. The body is craving for minerals. So calcium and magnesium and iron and lithium and all of these things, manganese and all of these different types of minerals. Depending on which side of the scale that they fall on, that would kind of put you in, a range, an alkaline range or acid. Now, acid isn't bad because, like I said, the body needs to be in balance. And like I say, because of the types of diets and the types of foods that we've been eating, we need to pull ourselves out of the acidic range, meaning eating all of this cooked food, all of this the dairy, the starchy rice and potatoes and the beans and whatnot. Those are very acidic. So we need to start alkaline in the body by eating more leafy greens, more fruits, more live foods. When we start implementing that, then we'll see ourselves moving in the more balanced stage and alleviating ourselves of these diseases, these different ailments and maladies that are afflicting us right now.
Okay, so the leafy greens and the fruits that you mentioned, those are what you are calling live foods.
Yes.
And so what makes them live? What gives them that term?
Well, the fact is like you're eating food or substances that have some semblance of life in it. You have kale, you have lettuce, you have cherries and strawberries. These things have an electrical frequency within it. They're living. Even after being picked, they still have life inside them. So they have a semblance of life. They call it biophotonics. Bio meaning life, photonic meaning light. So it's light. So you're literally eating energy, vibration that is garnered from the elements, specifically the sun. The sun is like plants are solar cells, and they trap energy, and we eat that. Is we pick it from the tree. We pick a guava from the tree. We pick a cherry from the tree, and we're able to get the full mineral complement that specific fruit may carry. You have certain vegetation that carries a lot of calcium, certain vegetation that carries a lot of magnesium. Once we balance that out, we can get the full range of phytonutrients and minerals that the body actually needs for it to function. So the living food are foods that are not cooked, but are cooked by the sun or matured by the elements, and the sun being the major proponent of us gathering that information or that energy that comes in the form of living foods, wild foods, or foods or plants that actually exist in nature and don't need to be tended. Doesn't need to be cultivated, doesn't need to be watered, doesn't need to get specific amounts of sunlight. They grow on their own. That's the type of food that we need to reincorporate back into our nutrition and our lifestyle.
Okay, now I would always hear people say, it's important to have a balanced diet.
Right.
And so what I see some people do is they would say, okay, from Monday to Friday,
right,
I can eat my fruits and my vegetables and whatever else they consider healthy.
Right.
And then on Saturday and Sunday, they got some cake and ice cream and they can eat rice, potato salad and pork chop and chicken on Sunday and all of the other stuff. Could you maintain a healthy lifestyle doing that? Or are you more so still doing damage to your health?
You're still doing damage. It's just probably more subtle and more slow. It's cumulative. So you're accumulating those poisons in the body as opposed to someone who's probably doing it every day. It's just a range or a timeline that you kind of probably spanned it out a little bit more. It's healthier, but it's not the healthiest, because what the body is doing with those substances is not getting what it needs to get. It's actually congesting the body. with substances that the body cannot break down. It cannot garner anything from it. It can't. The life is left. The flesh of the dead chicken, the dead beef, which is the cow, pork, bologna, all of these different things. There's no life inside that. The only thing that exists in those things are the undertakers of life, the mold, the fungus, and the yeast. Because once you kill or once you destroy a living animal, the only thing that's left is decomposition. So what we do is we spice the food, we season the food, we put salts, we put mineral salts, we put spices and herbs, to give it a flavor. You wouldn't eat that in its raw state. No one I know would eat flesh in its raw state. We put things in it to make it palatable. If we were to try and eat that in its raw state, we would probably bring it back up. More than likely, we would bring it back up, and it won't be appealing. So we decorate it with spices, herbs, vegetation, salts, and different things like that to make it appealing. Then we cook it, which is another thing. We're adding heat to this food, which is another way of bringing about disease in the body. Which is why I would recommend eating probably a diet that is 80 to 90% raw or living food, and maybe 10% cooked food. In that regards, that should be a pretty good ratio, 80-20 or maybe 75-25, 70-30. But the majority being live or living foods. That's what I would recommend. Mm-hmm.
So the term wildcrafted, I'm using that right?
Yeah, wildcrafted is the term. Yeah,
I've heard that come up before.
Right.
In the health talk.
Right.
Or the proper nutrition talk.
Mm-hmm.
What is a wild? Can you explain the term wildcrafted? What is a wildcrafted food?
Okay, wildcrafted is simply meaning that a plant or a botanical was collected from a wild or from a pristine remote area that was untouched by man, and it's not something that is grown. It's something that was harvested out of the wild. So if you see anything that's saying wildcrafted, more than likely it's the best thing you could probably get in terms of nutrition. Simple things like dandelion, they have other things such as shepherd needle. Those things grow in the wild. So if someone goes out there and they find an area where this is growing, they go out there and they harvest a small amount and they leave enough for it sustainably so it can regrow. That's what that means. You're going out there and you're harvesting the bounty of nature in its natural setting, and we utilize those specific. I like to term them as food because it's food. You get those things in their natural state. There's no herbicides, pesticides, and nothing like that. Those plants don't need it because the immune system of those plants have been around and have been through all of the changes in nature that basic bugs, basic things that would harm cultivated plants don't harm those plants. So those plants are very strong. And that's the reason why we take those plants, because of the immune system of those plants being strong. You then pass that on to yourself, and you take it and you can alleviate yourself of all of these different maladies that may come upon a person or a group of people, sickness and things of that nature.
So the wildcrafted foods would they would be the same thing as saying organic?
But pretty much. Organic is just a simple term meaning that there's carbon present in those particular substances or those particular foods or fruits. The organic term, I think, is being thrown around a bit loosely because I see they have organic seedless grapes, which is kind of weird because fruit should have seeds in it, But I think I understand what they're trying to do. But in essence, that is like a kind of a GMO, somehow modified.
Yeah.
You modify the organism by not allowing the seed to produce. The seed is in there, but it's not fully formed, and they use, I think it's a manganese inhibitor that stops the seed from producing in the seedless grapes, the seedless watermelons, all those fruits that are seedless of that, and that can be a precise reason why we see ourselves not being able to reproduce. You have a lot of people who are trying to have children these days, and they're finding it ever so hard to have kids, to have children, and that could be one of the main reasons. Eating those seedless fruits, you know, eat the fruits with seeds is what I would actually recommend. You know, eating those particular types of food. So organic, wildcrafted, they would seem to be the best types of things to look for when you're out there, you know, in the health food store, or you're buying certain things. You want to look out for those keywords.
Okay, so this question. Okay, now I remember now specifically what I wanted to ask.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna shock some of the viewers, the information that you're about to give when I ask this question. There are lots of foods out there that come in different forms,
Right.
like lettuce and stuff like that. And you know, people think that all versions of these foods are healthy for them,
Right.
but all versions are not. So could you break down for the viewers, you know, which foods to look out for
Right.
when they're buying vegetables and fruits and stuff like that?
Well, I definitely look out. Like you mentioned lettuce, and the only thing that comes to mind, and it's been out there, and people can look it up and check it out, is the iceberg lettuce. I mean, is known within like the health and natural community that the iceberg lettuce literally has no nutritional value whatsoever. Very mineral deficient. I mean, just looking at it and tasting it and looking at the lettuce itself, very bland. Almost pale in comparison to the green lettuce or the romaine lettuce, which has a darker green. And of course, you would want to find foods that are darker. They're more nutrient dense, so the darker, like they say, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. The more darker it is, the more nutrient dense it is. So when we look at fruits and vegetation, let's try and go after the fruits and vegetation that have the darkest pigments. That's what we want to look for. Those are more nutrient dense. Those are more mineralized, and it will be better for you, better for me, better for everyone. As opposed to, so when they're going through the grocery aisle and in the produce section, they can kind of weed out and find the ones that would best suit them. So definitely your berries and your cherries and all those fruits, those darker fruits, I would pick those. Not saying that the other ones are bad, but when you're making a comparison, and if you want the best nutrition, definitely go after the darker, more pigmented fruits and vegetables.
And what other GMOs or genetically modified organisms that we eat all the time should we, like, you know, stay away from?
Well, they I've yet to see any real GMOs. They're slipping in over here, but I haven't seen. I've seen what we have is a lot of conventional stuff, meaning foods. If you look at the sticker that's on the produce, anything that starts with a 4 is conventional. I think anything that starts with a 9 is organic, and 5, I think 5 is another number that says it's GMO, but I've yet to see it. But definitely 4 means it's conventional, which means they use herbicides and pesticides and fungicides, and they spray them to keep those things away, because simply stating cultivated food lacks the vital electrics and the vitality that their wild predecessors have in order to fight off funguses and insects and whatnot. So those things will be easily devoured, which is why in a farm they have to protect those things. But you could see weeds grow up alongside those things, and they need no protection, because the protection was already built in through thousands, if not millions of years of the plant evolving in a natural environment. So the things that would affect a cultivated plant would not affect the wild plant, which is another point. Whereas we are losing, or we lost the idea of wild foraging, going out and finding wild plants and incorporating that into the diet. If we do that, or if we've been doing that, or if we start to do that again, we will notice all of these diseases that we have, they will eventually disappear, because then we would be adding the missing link or the missing component in our diet, which is wild foods. People would forage for wild berries, they would forage for things that existed within the community, even down to like us, bush medicine, bush tea and stuff like that. Most people don't do it any longer. Possibly people on the family islands are doing it, which is good, but there's not much of that in existence here, simply for the mere fact that New Providence is being highly developed. So to find those those herbs and those botanicals like strongback and pond bush and all those things, you have to go probably extreme east or extreme west, and you have to probably find an area where there is still vegetation that you could find those things. We have things like sea grape, we have cocoa plum, we have hog plum, we have pigeon plum, all these things. It's hard to find these things any longer. These are some of the native things that just grow around here, but in the farm islands, you probably could find those in abundance. Yeah.
I've always been curious about, because I've been looking into this I guess you call it an alternative style of eating,
right?
Away straying away from the conventional style of eating,
right?
And I know that most people, when the year rolled, then they decided that, well, listen, I could be a new me,
right
this year, and I ain't eating this and I ain't eating that. So what would be the best way, in your opinion, for a person that's deciding that I'm gonna stop eating the conventional foods like the bread and the sugars,
right?
I'm gonna start eating electric or live foods, as you
foods,
call it,
right? Yeah.
What would be the best way for them to make that transition? Because I don't know if it's going to be easy for a person just jumping straight in.
Yeah, no, it won't be easy. Like you say, it has to be a transition. It has to be something. I think one of the best ways is to put yourself on a fast, which is just abstaining from food or abstaining from something. So you could start out with probably a day, and 2 days or 3 days, then you can push it to a week. The more that you abstain from these foods, and you put yourself, or you start to basically reset everything, you put everything back the way it's supposed to be. Typically they say about 21 days is a good time to reset everything, liver and all those different things. So I would say that would probably be the easiest way, and I think a lot of people are doing that in the month of January. They're doing different types of fasts and different things.
21-day fast,
exactly,
and stuff like that.
And eating raw food, meaning getting a meal plan and following that on a day-to-day basis. That's the quickest way to kind of reset the body, because when you're fasting or if you're doing the raw food, your body craves those minerals. You give your body a physiological rest from eating the cooked food, all of the meats and heavy starches and stuff that the body requires so much from the pancreas and the liver and the digestive system to break this stuff down. When you eat cooked food, you literally cause your white blood cell count to increase, because now all this foreign stuff is coming into the body that the body just doesn't recognize. So it sends the cannibals out to break this stuff down. It sends those organisms to break this stuff down. But when you eat a pear, an apple, a peach, a cherry, a strawberry, a blueberry, they have digestive enzymes in those fruits that your body doesn't have to expend to break that stuff down. They break down, it's easy, and the digestion takes not a long time. Because if you eat a fruit, probably within a half hour to hour, you're going to pass that out. Probably even less. If you have a clean digestive tract, your body gets what it needs, and the fibrous part that the body can't do anything with, that is, excreted out the body. So it's something that we would want to do. It's something that your body would feel beneficial. I know when I did a fast, or when I do fasting, after the third day, you actually get over any cravings, and the body gets into a mode where it starts to get rid of all of the things that have accumulated. It starts to use whatever fat you have, burn for energy. So you get smaller, you just automatically get smaller. So that'll be, like I say, the easiest way would be a fast. And then it's like you hit the reset button, because they're doing research and they're finding out that fasting actually stimulates the immune system and helps the body to reset everything back the way it should be, which is what you want. It will be moving in the direction of disease-free issues, blood sugar, all of these different things that are maybe out of whack, they start to normalize.
So is there a healthy alternative to dairy? People who like to drink milk and eat yogurt and stuff like that, is there a healthy alternative to that?
They have a number of alternatives, and I would say like the nut milks made from like almond seed milks, like hemp seed, things of that nature. You can utilize those. They have a couple of brands in the food stores, or you can make your own. It's very simple. If you get the raw organic nuts, you soak them overnight, and then you take a handful, you add it to a blender, and you add some spring water or distilled water, and you blend them up. And you could either strain it, or you could leave it, and you have your nut milks. And those are alternatives, because what dairy is well, one, dairy is from a cow, which is, we're not cows. So one, we're not cows. Two, we're not babies any longer. Why are we drinking milk from the bovine or the cow? Two, we're not babies any longer. Why are we still drinking milk? It's obviously an industry, and they want you to drink this thing because, well, this is how they make their money. But we're not cows, so we shouldn't drink milk from a cow. It's very mucus forming. It's congestive. Anyone who has asthma or bronchial issues, or anyone who has sinusitis or anything like that, or congestive issues, can tell you as soon as they drink the milk, it just brings down a ton of mucus in the sinus area, in the throat, and whatnot. Everything gets coated because cow's milk is very acidic, extremely acidic. So you would want to avoid the cow's milk, get rid of the cow's milk. For people who want to transition, I would say your almond milk, your Brazil nut milk, your hemp milk. You can make all of these. If you don't feel comfortable in purchasing those milks, you could make it with the raw organic nuts.